right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Two Planker Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Schaefer, and today we are celebrating episode 50. I started this podcast in December 2020, and the idea was just to interview people working in the sports industry, because that's the industry I wanted to work in, so I just kind of wanted to meet some new people, find out their stories, find out how I can make it work, and obviously it's evolved to become entirely ski-focused, but I want to reshare one of the first episodes I ever recorded. This episode is with my friend Pasang Karma Sherpa, and he's a trekking guide that lives in Nepal. I met him on a volunteer trip and trekked to Everest Base Camp back in 2018. So when I started this podcast in 2020, I wanted to interview him and share his story. The episode that's going to play after this is the episode that we recorded back then, right in the middle of COVID. It was the third episode ever recorded, so it's not my best work. Audio quality is not the best, but I wanted to reshare Pasang's story so you guys can find out what it's like growing up in the Himalayas and navigating life there. This will also be the last episode of the summer. We're going to take the rest of July and August off and then come back in September with weekly episodes focusing on athletes. So the small business episodes are done for a little while. Maybe we'll run that back again next summer. We'll see. But, yeah, that's the plan for now. I believe that's all for the intro. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. And yeah, here it is, episode 50 with Pasang. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
So do you just want to start with where you grew up and kind of what your parents did and just your life, basically?
Yeah. I'll start with how I grew up in my village. I was brought up when I was a kid. I was brought up in my village. So in a village we have my school was like kind of 1 hour far from my house, so we had to walk there. But before that, we had to wake up at like 4 a.m. and go to the woods to fetch some firewood and some some food for the cattle, like some some fodder or something like that for the cattle, and then come home and have breakfast and then rush to school of course. And sometimes, most of the time, I would be late to school, because I was doing a lot of stuff at my home. That's when I was like 5 years old.
Yeah. Wow. So what village was that?
It's a village right below Lukla called Karikola.
Uh-huh.
And it's very, very big village. One of the biggest in my commune right now. So yeah, that's how I started when I knew what lifestyle was. Like when I knew what life was. That's what I remember. Like I used to go to like forest or to the jungle and find some the stuffs for the home or for the cattle, and then go to school. Like, that was my like every day-to-day life. And then until I was brought to Kathmandu by my dad. He was working here as a trekking porter in the beginning, and then we were kind of like poor, I would say, because we didn't have enough money to go to a good school, or we didn't have enough money to come to Kathmandu and like go to a boarding school or something like that. Boarding school is kind of privileged here, like private boardings are kind of privileged here. It's other way around. Like in Europe, I think in the States, it's the government schools are better or government universities are better, but here it's the other way around. The private institutions and private schools are better here. And so most of the parents, even now, would like focus on bringing the child to Kathmandu and putting them in a boarding school where they can have like that. And to have to boarding school, when it comes to boarding school, it means like it's a proper English education. So it's not only Nepali, but they would focus on English education. So all of the teachings would be like through the English medium. So that's why like everybody they want their kids to go to boarding school and so.
Mm-hmm. And so you go to Kathmandu and your dad enrolls you in boarding school?
Yeah. I told you like when I was like 4, when I was like 5, I knew what life was. I understood what life was about. And then after like a year later, I was brought to Kathmandu by my dad.
Yeah.
And he put me into boarding school in a hostel. So
Okay.
that's how I came to learn my English there.
So your dad worked as a porter.
Yes.
Was he for trekking or for climbing?
Yeah, he was for trekking in the beginning, of course, because in the climbing during those times where there were like very few climbs. I mean, they were like not like right now, because now you have like maybe over like 50, 60 groups per season. But during those times, maybe they were like barely like 5, 6 groups, and it was like very difficult to like get seat in that, get like a reserve a seat into that place, and it was a kind of privilege. And even now, like people that are kind of ignorant or uneducated or something, like they don't like look at the risk. They only look for the money. Like they get like, they earn a lot of money, or even if they die or of something, they will like have a lot of huge compensation on that. So they will uh, particularly focus on that one, on having a lot of money. That's it.
When you were growing up, did most of the men in your village work as porters and trekking guides?
Yes, most of the people that didn't have enough education, or lacked knowledge on trekking or anything like that, they would start as a porter. So slowly they would know what's going on, what's the scenario of the whole trek or something like that, and then they will understand it, and slowly they will train themselves to be guides. Like they will train themselves on like guiding experience or English language or any other foreign language. They would, and then they will shape up themselves to be able to go to that level, and then they will just upgrade themselves to like maybe guides. First, of course, first assistant guides, and then the leaders, and then like like mountain guides, something like that. Yeah.
Who provides the training for the young guys trying to learn?
These days, it's the government that provides all the education, like the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation, that they provide every year. There's every year two times a year, like during winter and one in summer. They provide guides training.
Hmm. Is that how you learned?
Yes, yes. In 2009, when I completed my high school, um, I thought there was, my family was even struggling in those times, because my dad was working alone in the family, and he had to like feed maybe like six people. We were all like relying on him. Like we didn't have any jobs, anything like that.
Hmm.
So I had my two brothers and myself, of course, and my mom and my sister, of course. And so he had to like feed all of these people. Like we're like five people like relying on him alone. So, and then I felt a need that maybe because I'm the eldest son, of course this is like Asian culture. So in Asian culture, you are more responsible when you're elder, of course. So and then I thought maybe I should start working, or maybe I should do something else to earn for the family, because my dad can't do it like anymore. Not that he couldn't do anymore, but he had like a lot of strain on him. Like I think every day thinking of like how many people, how many mouths he had to feed. So I thought I should work, and then that's how when I started. Like I asked him, can I go on a trek like assistant guide, because I can speak a little bit English, and then maybe I can help you translate things like that. And then that's how I started. Like, okay, I want to go on a trek, maybe on Annapurna or maybe Everest, maybe Langtang. I want to go on a trek anywhere you want to go. Please take me as it. I requested him, and then that's when first time when he took me to Annapurna, and that's how I learned what's the whole situation is, what's going on in the trekking area. So, and of course I didn't get paid for it. I mean, but he saved some money. Instead of hiring another person and paying him, he saved some money on myself, because he didn't have to pay. I said, you don't have to pay me. I just want to have the experience of what trekking is actually. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's basically it.
Great. And so your mom wasn't working?
No, she wasn't. She, in Asian culture, I don't know if you have studied about Eastern or Western culture differences, but in Asian culture, and particularly in the Sherpa culture, like, or in the Hindu culture, there's always like the father, the head of the family, working for the whole family, and feeding all of them, be it like the kids, or sometimes even they're like maybe my uncles, or even if my uncle is like not like grown up enough to uh, you know earn himself, he will still have to like feed the family, whole family. That's how it works, and this that's why like Nepalese people are like a lot more dependent on their father or a mother, whoever is working in the family. So
Wow. And so
yeah.
did he have his own company, or did he work for somebody else?
Yeah, no, until like 2002, he was working for another company, and then in 2003, he and his friends, like they planned up to set up a company for himself. Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so
yeah.
you did your first trek in high school, and then did you go to university?
I went to university. It's all like jumbled up in my life experience right now, of not having like enough education to be able to be a company owner or something like that. Still like it still hinders me. Still like gives me a pain in my heart, because you know those times I was still struggling with my financial situation. My dad like going to Japan sometimes to earn, and then to Europe, and then right after my high school, I had like, 1 year gap. so that I could work for that particular 1 year, and then maybe pursue my education forward after that. After when I finished my work, but of course, uh, after my high school, I went one trek and I came back, and we met a German friend of dad that he invited us to Germany to work, of course, as a tourist tourist visa, but for work as well. So it was pretty much like a very like good chance for me to like, okay, this is something to see different than just inside Nepal or just maybe just inside Kathmandu. So and then we applied for a visa, my mom and me, for the first time, because my dad he was going to Japan. So I applied my visa with my mom, actually my stepmom, and then we got luckily we got a visa for Germany, because young people usually don't get a visa in those times. So we got a visa. I worked there for 3 months. I came back. We earned like a little money. Of course, we could support the family. My mom and now, my mom and me both we were working, and my dad was working as well. So he was very happy that we were there to support the family. It was like we were no more dependent on him. So he was very happy. And yeah, luckily I got my visa. But well, one thing happened. What happened was when I came back from Germany, the deadline for the filling of the form for university level was out already. So my friends that were studying with me were like 1 year ahead of me, and I was like 1 year behind me. So 1 year behind. So, and then I thought, those times I like earning thing was like more of a focus than like education thing, because I didn't realize. Right now I realized that I should have gone like further. I should have gone to the university, and then I should have done a lot of things. But those times it was like, okay, I have money now. I can do something else with. Maybe I can start a business. Maybe I can do something else. It was like lot more with that money than anything like education or something like that. So
Hmm. So after that, when did you get involved with freediving?
yeah, in the course of like trekking and all this, you meet so many like people, like so many different people like from different fields of expertise or something like that. And on my trek in 2000 2011, when I was trekking back from Namche Bazaar, and we stayed in a tea house in Monzo, if you remember the place. There I was sitting with my client. I had one client from the United States, of course, and we did the trek went pretty fine. It was very good. He went to base camp to Kalapathar and did everything. He was very happy. And on the way back, we were sitting on a table, sitting for our dinner. We had dinner and we were just discussing about tomorrow's ideas and things like that. And next to our table, there was like, it was pretty like a rushy time because there were a lot of people in there. But next to our table, there were two ladies. Later on, I knew they were from Sweden, of course. But and then I chatted with my client. I told him everything about all the details about tomorrow, next plan, all stuff like that. He even asked me like more questions about my life and stuff like that. And we were like discussed for about half an hour, just like casual discussion or something like that. And then I left. I said, "Good night. I need to go. Maybe the guys eat afterwards." So I had to go eat my dinner. My client already had dinner, his dinner, so I went for dinner. But after I came back, maybe 20 minutes later, I came back from dinner. I said I wanted to say good night to him again, and then these two ladies were already connecting to him. Like they were asking him questions about how he got there, and then how like who I was and stuff like that. So both of them started questioning about the Sherpas, because later on there I found out that they were studying about Highlanders versus lowlanders. Why do the Sherpas do so well in Highlands, and why can't the lowlanders do the same thing in the Highlands? So they were studying about all of these things, and then luckily in the next morning during the breakfast, I got to connect to her because my client had said a lot of things about me. He said he's a very good guide, something blah blah, a lot of things, a lot of and then she was very impressed, and she asked me if I could be maybe in a subject in her study about Highlanders, because I'm a Highlander, so she wanted me to be a subject in there. And yeah, we came to Kathmandu. I was her subject. She made me do a lot of like exercise and stuff like that, and then maybe cycling or running or something like that, so that she could like test my blood or something, and then my I would say performance on different levels of altitude or something like that, and then they went back. Everything went normal, and we had a contact, and then she went back. Everything was back to again like what I was doing, and in 2012 she invited me to Sweden. Luckily, she was very impressed with how like my body was reacting to her studies and stuff like that, and so she invited me to Sweden to see if I was doing better in the lowlands with it, because I was already doing good in the highlands. So to see if I was doing better in the lowlands. And then I flew to Sweden in 2012. I flew there, and then you know, she was later on I found out she was also a diving instructor. She was physiological. She was a professor of science and physiology in the Swedish university, and then she had her own diving club, small diving club, where she stayed nearby. And then she asked me to like every Sunday and Tuesday they would go for diving and swimming. I didn't know that, but she asked me if I ever knew swimming or anything, if I was familiar with the water, and I said no, I can't swim, because I was in Kathmandu. I went like a couple times. My dad took me a couple times to a swimming pool, and we always like wasted ourselves and come back, but because we didn't learn anything there. So my dad didn't know how to swim as well. And so I was there. She said if I ever knew how to swim, and I said no. And then she gave me like we bought a lot of trunks and stuff for the swimming gears and stuff like that. And then she taught me how to swim, of course. And then at the same time, because this was the same time when she was teaching me swimming and teaching free diving to her students as well. So she would ask me to do a task, maybe like stay underwater for maybe like 20 seconds and then come up. Similar task. She gave me a small task, and then she would go to her students and teach different things with different gears. So many like fancy gears, like flippers and like snorkels and stuff like that. And I was always amazed, like what are those things? Like maybe I want to try those. And she said, no, you have to know how to swim first. And then and then I was very eager, like, okay, I will learn how to swim and I'll learn these things. And I learned swimming in like 3 days. I learned how to float in 3 days. And then I asked her, can I like maybe try the flipper or maybe like mask, like stuff like that. And then she said, yeah, you're free to try it, but we'll have safety for you. So she kept me like one safety in the water, one safety on the land. So that way I wouldn't drown or maybe kill myself. So, and I tried the first time, and it was very good. I experienced pretty well. Like I could swim better with the fins than with my legs, because I learned then I learned that what about buoyancy and also, like how to float like better and stuff like that once I put on the flippers. So she thought I was doing better with that. And she only didn't think that she thought maybe as a Highlander, maybe I had because when she started me, I mean, particularly like not me, but Highlanders versus Lowlanders, or maybe particularly the Sherpas, I would say. She studied about my spleen. She studied my lung volume, and she comparatively she found out that the Sherpas or people living in highlands have like bigger lungs, a little like the lung capsule was a little larger, and the spleen like function was better because and then she found out this, and she said maybe you could do better in free diving. I mean, free diving was about like breath holding and stuff, and then swimming underwater. And then I said I will try, of course. And then I tried. The first time I went, maybe like barely like 45 seconds. I said, oh, I can't do it. But then she said it's all about technique. You can if you like if you master all the techniques, you can do it like much better. And then we like kept practicing for a week, and then maybe at least like for 2 times a week. So I practiced like maybe 6 times in a month, or maybe like 8 times in a month. And then there was this 2012, there was this Swedish freediving championship that was going on in Sweden. So different parts of a different town, but it was further. But it's going, and then because she's part of the diving association, she's also instructor in the diving association of Sweden. So she proposed that maybe I should be I should also be competing, or maybe I should be like a guest competitor or something like that. And then they accepted, and they said maybe you can be like first diver to start the diving competition, and maybe you can be a guest starter nation for me. And then that's how we started. Like she said, yeah, you're in from Nepal. So because there was nobody from Nepal, we Googled it, we searched all the data, and there was no one in Nepal that was listed as free divers. So and then and we went there. She made me a nice suit with written Nepal on my back. It was kind of proud moment for me, because it's just something new to try, and something new thing for Nepal as well. Because since Nepal is a landlocked country, we don't have like more access to water, and that's why a lot of Nepalese still don't know how to swim. So and then we went there. I started diving, and my first free diving swim underwater with fins was like only like 60 meters, barely 60 meters. in one breath, of course. But I did like a lot better in my breath holding. That's called static apnea. In my breath holding, I held my breath for like 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Incredible. It was like even I didn't believe myself. 3 minutes, 33 seconds. In my like seventh try for free diving, the ABC said it was very, very, very impressive because a lot of people have to like do a lot of tries, a lot of like practices to master these techniques. And then I was able to like hold my breath for 3 minutes and 33 seconds. It was incredible. And it was a big achievement for me. And that's how like everything started from Nepal to Sweden and then freediving and all these. Yeah.
Wow. And so after the Swiss competition, were you finished with your freediving career?
No, it didn't end there because that was only my like introductory level of training to that free diving, of course. And then we went to we were swimming already since I was doing like so well. I mean, she said maybe we could try to the ocean because we lived in the inlands. We live in the coastline of Swedish coastline, so we were like we had access to like this big huge Baltic Sea. So we went into the sea. We were like practicing there. Later on, I went. She took me to France in 2014. There was also competition, but I wasn't a starter. Or I wasn't a competitor there. I was barely helping her take her data because she was still studying these competitors, like competitors from all over the world, like the best competitors in the world. So and I was studying these people like they're like taking the data of how about their lung capacity and all this and all that stuff. So yeah, but then of course in France in Nice, I was also swimming she was also teaching me how to like deep dive and all these things. We went to Norway to do the same thing, and then that's how like my basic training completed. She made me do my basic trainings, but I haven't yet done my advanced training on freediving. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
transitioning back to trekking. So when you weren't doing the freediving, you were working as a trekking guide, right?
Yes.
And so who are you working for? What was your kind of schedule for the year, and what was your setup during that time?
Yeah, in a year, like we have like 2 seasons a year, and then like two off seasons. So like summer and winter would be off, and then spring and autumn would be like more like peak season. So during seasons, I was working with my dad's company because he had established the company in 2003, back in 2003. So at the time 2000, I started working in 2012, something like that. It was already like maybe 10 years old company. So I was working for him, and but I never went freelance. I was working for him. Like I was doing a double shift. Like I was also doing the accounting in his office. That way I saved some money for his. He couldn't have to pay the accountant, so I saved some money for him. And then I was also, and then actually after my second trek, I started working for him as an accountant. I was working, doing phone calls and doing all the things in the office rather than just going to the field. But then I realized that there was more interesting thing on the field than staying in the office, like, all day long there. So I said, maybe I should hire someone else for content. I want to be a trekking guide. And then, yeah, in 2009, I took my first my guides training. And then I went to, actually my first trekking was, the first ever trekking with my dad was 2004, I guess. I went with my dad to Annapurna. But then I had my license, like proper guide license in 2009, to the training in 2009. And then I had my license 2010, and then I started working for him since then.
When you were first learning, did you ever feel physically challenged? Like, what were these treks difficult for you?
Yes, yes. The first time, like when I told you I went to Annapurna, you know, Annapurna is barely like 3,800 meters. That's like maybe like 9,000 feet, something like that. But I was already struggling with that because I had, I was never used to like walking or hiking like that. And then first time I had a very difficulty because also my first trek was with a lot of like, ups and downs and a lot of like climbing a lot of hills and stuff like that. So it was kind of hard for me. Yeah. So I didn't like quite enjoy it for the first time. the first time.
Yeah. Have you ever done climbing, or has it only been trekking?
Yeah, I was also into climbing until 2016. So until then, I was like both climbing and trekking. Whenever there was a chance to climb or something like that. But in 2016, when my cousin brother died, we were on the same expedition to a small peak called Lobuche. Uh, but he died on our way back. We submitted the peak. It was pretty good, a very good summit, very timely. Everything went well. But on the way back, when he was supposed to take down the rope, because once you climb, once you fix the lines, and then when you're back, usually on the peaks you have to take down the ropes so that you don't leave trash on there. But you don't have to do that on Everest, because the ice wall doctors will do that. But in little peaks, because you're responsible for fixing the lines and then taking the lines down. So um, everything went well. We had a summit and we had a very nice picture and we came back. But on our way back, um, I was leading. We were like three Sherpas and two clients. I was leading the clients because my two Sherpas didn't speak like well English, so they were good in their field of climbing and fixing the lights and stuff like that, but they weren't like that good in communicating in English with the clients. So I was always like together with my clients. So they put us to safe side, and then on our way back, he fell down off the mountain and he like died there. And it was very horrific for us because eh, like I don't know if we call nature or if we call like karma or anything like that. As soon as he fell and we knew that he died, the whole crowd like rushed into us, like we were like trapped, like maybe some kind of like cyclone or something kind of like. The cloud was like very dark and we were like very frightened because it was a broad daylight. It was like 10 a.m. in the morning, and that thing happened, and it was like, if the mountains didn't want us to be there, or if something was going on there. So we were like, that was my first ever climb. Sorry, I think that was my second climb to the same mountain. I had climbed before that, but and then that year, like we had a very difficult time because he fell off the mountain. Now we don't know where he is, either died or either and then I had very little mountain climbing experience until then, because of course, I knew I had little basics about how to climb, how to fix lines, but I didn't have proper knowledge of rescuing a person if somebody falls or something like that. So, and neither did my other Sherpas. So, two of the Sherpas, one of them died, and the other came like very like he was very nervous and say like, oh, Chongba fell down the mountain. What should we do? And then I was like, my clients got pretty scared too, and they said maybe you should take us to safe side first. And then I said, I thought, even though there was two other groups too, but and we all decided that maybe we should head down first, because next thing could be like somebody else falling off as well. So because the weather was changing very rapidly, there was like a lot of clouds coming in, like, and then we would like barely find our way back because it was snowing a lot of snow as well. All of a sudden, because it was whenever we were on the summit, there was sun. Of course, we could see sun, we could see Everest, we could see a lot of things. We could see a pretty good panorama of all the surrounding mountains. But on our way back, that happened like all of us in maybe like 10 minutes time. Everything started like a different thing. It was a different mountain. We felt it was a different mountain then. So we rushed back. We rushed back to camp, and I rushed the same day. I rushed my clients back to Kathmandu. Sorry, back to lower camps, because we were all up there. And then I had to contact my dad because somebody has to know in the office so they can organize a rescue helicopter or something like that. I called my dad through my satellite phone because my phone wouldn't work. So I called him and said, Chongba is no more. We lost him on the mountain because he fell off the mountain. And then they were all like worried. But luckily on that group, because we had our team leader from the United States. He was very good in rescue and stuff like that. So he said, maybe we should organize a helicopter, like maybe like at least 1 or 2 rounds of helicopter search, search and rescue operations. So that's when he sent helicopter to where we were, and then we went. The other Sherpa and me, we went on a rescue to see if he's there or not. And then on the helicopter we couldn't see because our eyes could barely see like that tiny object down there, because the helicopter couldn't go like pretty much near. It was only like going around the mountain. So we said this is useless. So we had to abort the mission, and then we went back to the same spot we were. That's called Tukla. It's just below Lopache. and then next day, of course, the other Sherpa and me, I put my clients to safe side. They were rescued out of Feriche in a helicopter, and then my porters went down, and it was only me and my other Sherpa. So we thought maybe we should go on foot back, and maybe if he fell out of the mountain, maybe he fell way down there. Maybe he's at the base of the mountain, because that's what we thought in those times. But when we went there to the base of the mountain, and we saw there were like so many like false summits before, even because when you see a mountain, you just barely see a whole big stone, like very like slippery stone. If you fall off, you just fall off the base. And we thought that, and we went to the base, and there was nothing there. So we were like hungry, we were like tired, we were like cold, but we never like stopped searching for him. And then We went like 2 days in a row. Like we didn't even eat properly. We didn't even sleep well. We were getting questions from so many people. Like I went online as soon as I went online on the internet, I would get so many questions about from different people, different companies, like what happened there and all these things. And so I was like kind of frustrated. And then I had to call my dad and say we should like organize or rescue like a human rescue team so that we could climb to the peak. We could go from the same spot we fell. We should like rappel down and we should find his body and something like that. Yeah, and we did that. And then in 3 days time, our rescue team arrived to Lobuche, and then we showed we went to the peak again. When they arrived, they rested, and the next morning we went early morning. So we had like 6 people in a team. 2 of us stayed at the Lobuche to find out like if they found the body, we could have organized another hike again because there was no cell reception or any coverage in the mountains. So of course we had our radio sets and stuff like that, but it would be like more sensible to call from there instead of everybody going rushing up there. So 4 people like good Sherpas, all from my same village, they went to the mountain, and then and they found the body. Of course, they found the body. They brought up the body, and then they called us. Said we need more help because carrying the dead body would be like very difficult from the mountain. It was okay on the snow part because you could drag him. We had like a nice thing for him to wrap up, and it was possible to drag down. But there were more rocky parts where it could damage the stretcher or anything like that we used for him to rescue. So yeah, of course, after they informed us that they found the body, I and my other Sherpa, we went again to the top. We were rushing there. Normally it would take us maybe like 5-6 hours to get there. It only took us like 2.5 hours to get to the top because we were rushing, like we were in such a rush that to find out if he's doing like if it was if there were any other accidents. We were kind of afraid, so we rushed to the summit. We went there. And we brought his body back, and but we couldn't. It took us maybe like 10 hours to get his body down to the base where we could call the helicopter. So that night we couldn't. We were late because we started in the 4 in the morning, but we were not able to bring the body down until 8 in the night. So in the night 8 in the night we brought the body down to the base camp, but not to Lobuche because Lobuche is a settlement area and people would be like kind of afraid if we brought the dead body there. So all of us decided that we should maybe, because there was not any wild animals to eat the dead body, anything like that, destroy it. So we thought we should mount the body to a high rock and then put it there and then leave it over there overnight and then maybe come in the morning. Yeah, and that's what we did. We mounted the body pretty much high on the big rock, and we went to Lobuche. We had food. And then we rested. Next morning, 5 a.m. We woke up and we brought the body down to the helipad, and we called the helicopter, and we all got rescued out from there. And we went to they took the dead body to Kathmandu for postmortem because that's how it happened. And then I went to my village, and then we were still scared. And that particular incident, like told my brain or told me that you should stop climbing because this is kind of risky for you, because without no knowledge you cannot do that. And then since then I stopped climbing any higher than Kalapatra or anything like that. So
you stopped climbing after that?
Yeah, I stopped climbing after that. Yeah.
And so are those accidents common?
Yeah, it's pretty common, but but to be honest, that accident was particularly, it happened because of that person's overconfidence. He had no helmet. We even my clients, as a lead guide, I told him you have to have a helmet, you have to have a safety thing, everything. Like, he wouldn't do that. He didn't even bring his sunglasses. He was too confident that he had climbed the same mountain multiple times, and he said, "I have climbed this. Maybe this is my 12th climb or 15th climb. I don't have to wear a helmet, anything like that." And he was like very stubborn to not listen to us. And so, and then also later on we found out that his safety rope wasn't on the rope. His safety was attached to his harness. So it means it was his fault to how he fell. I mean, if he had his safety on, he would have fallen like not very far, but at least he wouldn't have died. He would have been on the rope. So that is because of his own mistake. He died of fall from the mountain. So
a lot of Sherpas do this line of work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there some sort of insurance that they can get for their families?
Yes. By law, luckily, We were three Sherpas, including myself. Of course, I was lead Sherpa, and then we had like two more climbing Sherpas. So um, luckily he was because you can only insure like one person only the lead climbing Sherpa is insured actually, and then luckily his insurance he was on the insured he was the insurer he was insured, so he got compensation after that. I mean
Wow.
his family, yeah.
So after that, you go more towards trekking. And when did it go from you working for your father to you starting your own trekking company?
Yeah, after all this happened, and then I was like kind of more frustrated, and like doing like repeated treks all the time, like going to base camp maybe like four times, five times a season, and it was like kind of like I was doing the same thing all in all again. It was like for me, it was like staying in the office again. Like I felt the same thing like again. I mean, I was doing the same thing all the time. I wouldn't, as a trek guide, I was always looking forward to like different destinations, different like areas of Nepal or maybe even like India or Tibet and something like that. But then I always was because my dad's company always ran like um, private group treks to ABC and then Everest Base Camp, and so they were particularly focused on Everest Base Camp, and by the time by the time I was working maybe like 2 4 years in a row, I had already climbed like 20 times to Everest Base Camp, so it was like I thought maybe I should do something else. But of course, and then I thought, okay, in 2017, I thought, okay, maybe I should leave trekking here. Maybe I should go to Europe, or maybe work there, where life's better, or maybe where like earning is much more like better or something like. And then I thought, okay, I'll apply for Sweden again. I'll try to work there. I'll try to get a visa, work permit there, and I'll try to maybe live there, or maybe even bring my family there. And then I was in the course of like thinking that it was my thought, and I was just about to put it on like practically. That's when like I got a call from I was in my village, and I got a call from my dad. They said there's two clients that want to meet you. They want us to help them. You know that also help them set up their program in here in Nepal, because they're going to do a volunteering program here in Nepal. And then I said, okay, maybe one final time, let's do it. And then I went. I met. That's when I met Dan, and then another like guy working for Give. It was Give volunteers. They rode to my near to my village, and then well, I showed them like they wanted to see a school, and maybe like particularly a school where they could work in a village where they needed much help after the earthquake. So um, yeah, so that's when I showed Dan all around, and then he said maybe we didn't like, but we like came to conclusion that this wasn't the place that needed help or anything like that. So we came to Kathmandu, and then we met. That's when we met Jake, and with my we sat down with my dad and with Jake, Dan and all these um, people that were like working for Give. We sat down, and we finalized that we should go to Gorkha, where it was the epicenter of the earthquake in 2015. So we went to Gorkha, and we found a village called Paslang, where there was help was needed, where it was perfect for where we could see mountains from there on. We could see the river. People were like from different ethnic group, like there was Hindus, so it was like pretty much what they wanted to work on. So and that's when we started, and then we started like volunteering, and then our group like Jake's, it was called Give Volunteers. So their groups kept on coming, and then coming and going. We had like maybe we organized like two, 3 seasons, 3 seasons, and then later on, Jake and Dan, we sat together, and we said they thought we need adventure portion besides just rafting and just like paragliding and stuff like that, because in those times we had rafting and paragliding, and then maybe in our first programs were like jungle safari and all these things as well. We already had an extra um, ideas of like what to do if people are not interested in these things, or maybe if people are interested in doing Annapurna or any mountain treks or in hiking. And then I said, yeah, I have done base camp maybe like 20 times. Maybe I expertise in that area. If you want to run base camp, maybe we should. I'm ready for it, he said. And then that's when he said, well, that'd be like perfect. I mean, he said he already had so many clients that want to do mountaineering or climbing or trekking, anything like that. So that's when we started like Green Paw Adventures. He suggested me that Green Paw Adventures was, of course, it was based in Tanzania. Started by David Chogo in Tanzania, but he wanted to have the same name here in Nepal as well. So we started like Green Paw Nepal, And then that's how when I set up my own company. Then he helped me set up my own company.
Yeah. So what was the process of setting up the company? What's kind of the business landscape of Nepal?
The train, like establishing a private tracking company, or any private company here in Nepal, you have to go through the government of Nepal so that you'll be liable for tax and stuff like that. But of course, not anything like that. You couldn't be sued or anything like that. Of course, there's no like anything like that, that you can't be sued or anything like that. Here you can sue us, and we still have to like figure it out ourselves. The government doesn't do anything to us, so we only pay the tax. And that's the bad thing, that Nepal, we pay so much tax to the government, but they barely do anything like protection, like something like protection or something like that. If somebody sues, maybe Green Paw or maybe me, we would have to like solely rely on ourselves and on what we have done. We would have to like pay money, or do it on ourselves. So yeah, we went for the process is that you have to to the company, like government, and to the government, and it is like a month or like 2 months to completely establish a company, completely like get you all the documents from the government. You have to have a government from the tourism ministry, from the tourism industry, of course, itself. Different, like we have tourism ministry, we have tourism industry division, different. So two different certificates, like for taxation from the tax office, and you have to like have like from a local community, like you have to have permit from the local community that you can run a trekking in this area or something like that. So there's a lot of series of documents that you have to get from the government. So it's kind of like tough, but of course, my dad, he knew all these things because he had been through this lot of after so far. So he had a lawyer who was working for him all the time. So I hired him, and then he made things easy for me, and so I wouldn't have to do much things. He would just bring the documents to me. I would just sign it off, and then we just finalized everything, and then that's how we started.
And so, do you get most of your clients from Give Volunteers? So people that have finished their volunteer trip and they do the trek afterwards?
Yes, yes. So far, because it's been only been like a couple of years that we were in our trips, because last year we couldn't do that. I would say 2 years, and then actually a couple of years, yeah, because we only ran like for 2 seasons. Before that, we didn't have Everest Base Camp. So until then, I only got my all my groups from Give Volunteers. This year I had like two extra groups from my friends, or not from givers, or not anything from. But I had like two German friends and two other like Swedish friends that wanted to climb with me, but everything this all this happened and we couldn't do it. So
Obviously, COVID has put a kind of a pause on tourism, but what's your plan for the future of your company?
yeah, of course, I'm already working with my marketing strategy that I would like to visit the United States once, and then maybe do a marketing research or anything like something like that in the United States. Maybe have a representative there that could like help marketing with the marketing in there. Of course, Give is my biggest marketing resource right now, because Give would do everything to get the clients, of course, and then to Basecamp as well, and to Gurkha as well. So I wouldn't have to do much, but besides that, I want to do my own private marketing for like with Give, we run trips that we don't like not the highest level of quality of trekking that we do we run, because we run trips, but we run with certain limited budget, that way people will have compromise on everything, like on hotels, or on everything. But I want to run trips like my dad does. He runs quality trips, like maybe one or two a year, but very quality trips that people are like it's the same base camp trek, same walk, but different payment and different um, um, different level of hotels or anything like that. So I would love to market for that, and then I would love to like get Green Pot to next level. Just not just relying on Give Volunteers, but also like from to other clients as well. So
Hmm. So, do you want to stick with trekking, or would you like to add climbing as well?
of course, I have already built my website, and so on my website I've already put like 3 or 4 climbs, not like Everest or like any 8,000ers, but I have already added like small peaks like Lobuche or Allen Peak or Mera Peak. One of these 3 peaks are like very good for people that want to climb higher. So I was starting with these 3 peaks first, and to see how many clients I get, and then so far we only got like maybe 2 clients to climb to Lobuche, and it got canceled this year. So not that, but I didn't on my website, I don't have like Everest or any 8,000s. I only have little peaks so far. So
Hmm.
that means I have put like trekkings and then peaks at the same time.
Wow. Do you plan to add Everest one day?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's the Everest market right now in Nepal is like pretty tough, pretty like challenging, pretty pretty competitive. So it will be very difficult to run Everest trips because, well, you have to be first. Firstly, I'm not an Everest climber. I've not climbed Everest. I don't have the experience. But secondly, because of the competitive market, is you have to be able to like to run the trip in the lowest place possible, so that people can believe you and come to your company and you can run the trip. But then there are already so many companies that run the trips like in so low cost that you can't go below that. So people, it's not like in those times that you get people and you want to say let's go to Everest and you can just organize it. But now you have to think like maybe 20 times before organizing a trip to Everest Base Camp, Everest Summit or something like that. Yeah.
So, is there a required number of summits you have to have before you're allowed to guide a group?
No, I mean at least you should have one Everest climbing experience so that you know what's going on there, and then you can explain your clients like what goes on there and what's about. I mean that would I would feel that way because of course there are so many people that don't not have climbed Everest but still run Everest trips, but I don't have that whole like scenario of how Everest is run and anything like that. I know I can go to base camp. I still have little knowledge of how people get up there and then how they get supplies up there and how they climb and how can they come back. But since I don't have that particular experience, like personal experience of climbing Everest, I wouldn't like maybe like risk on like putting up Everest and then say, maybe when I get maybe perhaps I get like clients when I have to question everything because they have dozens of questions before coming up there. So and I wouldn't be able to question. So for now, I would just stick to small peaks.
So, do you personally hope to summit one day?
Yeah, I hope to summit one day.
So, for Sherpas, what does the summit mean? Is that a common life goal that Sherpas have?
Honestly, in those times and even now, the common goal is to earn. That's it. They don't have common goal of like I want to set foot on Everest, maybe earn names there. Some people, of course, like there are some Sherpas that want to earn name and they do maybe like speed records or maybe like multiple times climbing in the same season or climbing the high like most number of times. But you know um, even the people the Sherpas that climbed the Everest the highest number of times like that's I think 24 times now, they didn't focus on doing that from when they started. When they started, they wanted to work for money, and that's it. They never focused that maybe I will be climbing 24 times. You know, I mean, if he or she had like if that person had climbing Everest number of times, maybe 24, 25, he would have done it like 30 times now, or maybe even more. But but then in the course of working, he only thought of money, how much money I get from climbing all these things. So, yeah, the prime focus would be on earning and not setting foot on Everest, I would say.
In Sherpa communities, how do you guys view porters and trekking guides and climbing guides?
Yeah, of course, when you say porter, it's only porter. In the trekking field, he's the lowest level of like worker in that particular trekking or climbing um, region. So porter, of course, he's the lowest, and then of course in those times it was even difficult to get like seat for porters. Like my dad, he said he still like shares his experience with me, and he said like if one day somebody called me to be a porter, and he said like he couldn't sleep the whole night, not because he would be thinking he would be tired, but he was very excited like, oh, okay, I'm going to be in an expedition, maybe I'm in for trekking. So I would be like he said he was very excited. So uh, it doesn't mean that of course he's lowest paid and has also have the hardest job to carry stuff up the mountain, but you know he's equally respected in the group, and of course the more respect is to the clients towards the guides and towards the Sherpas. But porter, of course, yeah, these days it's not that hard because you don't have to carry like like 30 kilos or 35 kilos of stuff these days, because the government has set certain rules for porter payment or porter wages, and then porter like weight luggage weight something like that. So you can't let porter carry like 50 kilos something like that unless he like wants. Then you have to have a document to say he wants it, and then maybe somebody some people would want to earn like double money. Like if he carries double, say maybe if the weight now the weight limit is around 20 kilos, if he carries 40 or 60, he would earn like triple the money of his salary per day. So that's his own choice. He's our own choice. So, but as a company, we are not allowed to like you know let a porter carry like 50, 60 kilos, something like that, on one payment. So
Hmm. And so, are the people working in the trekking and climbing field, are they respected in the mountain communities?
there's I wouldn't call it respect or anything like that, or no respect, no or disrespect, but in the course of working, like because the Sherpa people, either they are farmers, or maybe they are like cow herders or anything like that, and besides that, their job would be trekking. So they have always from their ancestors, or well, not from their ancestors, but from the time they knew they were trekking, they have always known that trekking was our profession. So they wouldn't say anything about bad about profession or being porter or anything like that. They would simply, maybe if somebody was a porter a year, next year he becomes a guide, they would respect that, because he has worked hard to do that, to get to that position, or to get to be a guide. And so we wouldn't talk much about, oh, he's a porter, he doesn't deserve to be a guide, something like that. But of course, you know we don't talk about like if trekking is bad or trekking is like bad, of course. But of course, what people believe in those times and even right now is that people that don't have education, or that lack education, or that lack experience, they go porters, because they don't have any all they can do is just carry it, you know so they become porters. And people that have like little knowledge, they become sherpas. And the people that have expertise on trekking field, that have been trekking, like have a lot of experience on trekking, they would be like trek leaders, or like company owners and stuff like that. Yeah.
Hmm. So you kind of use Sherpa as an ethnic group, but it's also kind of a job title.
Yes. Yes. Right now, when you call a Sherpa, in those times, because porters, Sherpas were only the ones working as a porter, so they maybe said Sherpas mean also porter. Some books also even wrote like Sherpas means porter. But Sherpa was of course always an ethnic group. And we call Sherpas because we came from the east, from Tibet. So we call Sherpas, people of the east are called Sherpas. So yeah, and then because they knew Sherpas were into this profession, they also put like porter as a Sherpa, or some Sherpa as a porter, something like that. But these days, when you mean Sherpa in the trekking hierarchy, we would say the trek leader, of course, and then the guide, and then the Sherpa. So Sherpa would also mean a post right now. In these days, that means assistant guide. So he's assisting the guide, trying to be a next guide next time. So yeah, it is ethnicity plus a level of hierarchy in a trekking field or in a climbing field, and then the
Wow.
porters, of course.
Has tourism changed the community that you've come from?
Yes, of course. Everybody has prospered to some extent. Not that we don't have to like in those times we have to like, when there was no trekking or no, even now people struggle, because if there's no because there's no season now, because of the COVID, there's no season, there's no one working, so people are back to farming. This is what they were originally doing. So after the trekking started, and then everything was a different scene for the whole village, because everyone from one, at least one person from one house were going to trekking. So it was like the whole village would be almost empty, if there was not for women and for children. But yeah, so at least it has changed the lifestyles of people to a large extent, I would say.
But in a positive way.
Yeah, in positive way, yeah.
So do you think in general that that the rise in tourism has been positive for Sherpas?
Of course, it's been like very positive, not only to the Sherpas, but to to every people that are related to tourism, like from drivers in the airport, like including the hotels, Kathmandu, all of these people that are like associated with or attached to this tourism, they have always like prospered, and they have always like become better, and then not we don't have to like look back to our like miserable life, something like that.
Has there been any negative effects?
Negative, of course, yes. I mean, if you realize in Paslang, and if you realize in Everest Base, going to Everest Base Camp, a little difference is that um, in the Hindu community, also Buddhist or Hindu community, in the Hindu community, we care too much about other people, like what other people are doing, what they are wearing, what they are eating. And that's why tourists, when they come here, they check in shorts, even though like the women wearing like very short clothes, and like maybe some people even trekking like sports bra and stuff like that. That they kind of like had a little negative effect on children here. But then when I was working with Give volunteers, we always like were like aware of it, and we would say like do not do that here, do not show that to them, because we were also working in a Hindu community. So in the Hindu community, it's a little kind of disrespect, or maybe trying to show off or something like that when you are not wearing proper clothes or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's one point I would say. Yeah, I would say it's kind of distract, or like bad thing about negative impacts of tourism.
So just kind of staying on the religious track. So do you think that like the tourism has kind of affected the spiritual significance of the mountains for the people up there?
When it comes to climbing or stepping foot on Mount Everest, you're the Sherpas or anybody that working in this field would focus particularly on earning money, and of course they have this like religious ceremony at base camp, like to like I'm sorry for the mother Chomolungma mother like Everest, to like sorry we are going to step foot there, and we want to do this ceremony for you to be sorry and all these things. But um, besides that, getting to Everest and just earning and coming back home is just that's the key thing I would say, rather than any religious or anything like that.
So that's all the questions I have. Is there anything you want to kind of leave off with, a message or anything that you want to mention before we go?
Um, Not quite, but of course, the situation is all like because of the COVID, everything's like like up and down. So I can't just say anything about like marketing, because I don't want people to come here or get affected and maybe bring infections here and infect people and go back or something like that. So right now, just let's be hopeful for a nice vaccine, for like perfect vaccine that people can be vaccinated, and then life go back to normal. That's it.
Hmm. After COVID, hopefully the business continues to grow.
Yeah, of course. We're like very much hopeful. Like we have all the preparation that we need to do after COVID, stops, and then like we're just ready to go, like bounce off this from the office and go to the mountains again.
Hmm. I just want to thank you very much for coming on. This was a great talk.
You're welcome, Ethan. It was very like very good chance for me to like speak with you, and then of course, thank you.